Welcome to Did Nothing Wrong Live with Robert Silverman. We are trying a new thing here, folks. We're going to try video. We're going to try going out and letting y'all see what we look like. And we went
We're
and
gonna stay in character and we're gonna do it right.
we
We're gonna
went
do
and
it
found a
right.
really handsome guy to make sure you'd all want to watch this show. So,
hmm hmm
Robert Silverman, thank you for joining
Oh,
us today.
wait, when does the handsome guy show up? Who's the
Here.
wait, am I getting replaced already?
Well,
Woof.
oh,
All right, I
You've
had a
been
good
here for a
run.
while.
no, we're going before you. Don't worry. We may have
Okay,
started this, but you're taking it over. This is the
awesome.
man.
Robert's
This is the man.
we're living
Yeah.
right there.
Okay, so we
So,
uh,
so which of our favorite far right social media performers are we gonna discuss today, Jay?
yeah, the which one did we focus on today rather than learning a foreign language or any other useful skill? Um, yes, the last couple of days it was Steven Crowder, the conservative. It pains me to say that next to his name, but conservative commentator Steven Crowder, who apparently really had some mean, awful things to say about his then pregnant wife, who was pregnant with their twins, and she really wanted to not give medicine to their dogs because she believed it was harmful for her to handle them as a pregnant woman. And Stephen decided that she should put some gloves on and do it anyway. And she wanted to get out of there. She knew it was a toxic environment situation, but the family only owns one car, and that was the thing that really stuck out to me. Is you have this multimillionaire who lives in Dallas, Texas, and my parents lived there for 3 years. I was born in Dallas. They're in a residential neighborhood. You can't get to grocery stores and go to places in Dallas without a car. So why did this guy have a car? Only one car between the two of them, and that's what stuck out to me. And along with this video made me realize this is a man who wanted to control his woman.
Mhm. This is a man who turned down a reported $50 million offer from Ben Shapiro's Daily Wire. He turned it down because he would be losing money taking that kind of money. So it's not like the guy couldn't
He
afford.
would. I mean, look, he's absolutely. If we're going to delve into that Daily Wire contract, the one thing I will give Steven Crowder, former star of the former voice actor and star of the show Arthur. He played the role of Brain in that when he was a young lad.
Oh,
Um, the thing that he's right. That 50 million over the I think 4 years of
Yeah.
that contract, it also had to cover all of his production costs. Yeah, if he set up a solo shop and did subscriptions and did all that, even with that, even if YouTube sent him to the phantom zone and never monetized a single thing he does again, he could absolutely earn more than that. Even with covering everything that would be involved, legal, healthcare for all of his employees, even with all those costs just being handled by him, he would make more doing it solo. So I understand why he turned that down. But what that led to was an ongoing feud with every other Daily Wire personality who didn't like seeing their company's dirty laundry being aired. I mean, a lot of people blanched at that number. And, anyone who's done any reporting on the economics of the far right media human centipede will tell you that Steven Crowder could absolutely pull in
Oh,
seven,
just from reading
eight
it, I know you're
figures.
right. I know you're right.
Yeah,
I mean, it's insane, and anyone who's not versed in this, it sounds insane, but it's real. It
right.
yeah, it was kind of insulting to him, which is the problem and the craziness of all this. And again, I just get stuck on that one car. She had to go hire. Why? And yeah, I mean, you look at this guy, he's sitting there smoking, he doesn't care, he's in almost like his change my mind pose, which you kind of start to think that's how he lives
there
his
were there were
entire
some
life.
delightful change my mind memes that
Oh
were floating
yes.
around the interwebs today. There was I'm married, change my mind is one thing that I saw.
my wife left years
um,
ago changed my mind.
yeah. But the thing that the phrase that really the where I got that I can't seem to let go of is that Stephen at one point in that adenoidal whine of his started talking about the phrase that his wife Hillary was not performing her wifely duties. and
Mm.
and really like who's are you watching like a lot of episodes of Upstairs Downstairs? Like where are you getting that phrase from? Where
Hmm.
is that sticking in your head? And the thing that I kept talking is that for all of the desire to go back to the 1950s as some kind of lost American nirvana and a time when, you know, the country was, what's the phrase, great again, which included a vast reduction of civil, personal, and financial liberties for everyone who isn't a straight white guy. So, you know, women, people of color, people of others with other sexual preferences, disabled people, like everyone who is not a strapping
Hmm.
Caucasian. They don't just they've been dipping into their own stash. They
Well,
they
not
they're not
even,
just selling that to the masses. They are trying to live that reality.
yeah,
And boy, is it miserable for everybody involved, but particularly the soon to be future ex Mrs. Crowder.
Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah, I
I
mean, if you
mean,
think
life
about it, it's not just Caucasians. I mean, it's Catholics. Like, how far back do we want to go?
yeah.
Catholics, the Irish, whoever it was. It's this very narrow window of what is happy. And when I look at those memes of their 1950s nostalgia and all this, it's like, okay, that existed somewhere in the United States, kind of, if you really squint. But it still also still kind of exists somewhere in the
It was
United States
it was
today.
it was yeah, it existed as an advertising slogan. It existed
Right.
as a marketing
Mad
campaign.
Men.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it was. That's what they're
And
selling. It's
and were the people on
nostalgia.
Mad Men happy? Was that show all about how
No,
happy everyone was?
they were drunk. I think happy or unhappy is really the wrong question to ask. They were just drunk all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to digress into a discussion of Mad Men, but like I think when that show was popular, I asked my uncle who was, you know, working in he wasn't working in an advertising agency, but he was working in that kind of, you know, C-suite executive you know, world. And I asked, like, are people were people really getting drinks at, you know, was someone pouring themselves a highball at 10 a.m.? And he goes, well, some of them. It wasn't
That pause is
entirely.
like,
Well,
Oz tells me everything I need to know.
yeah.
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 Um, but in any case, with regards to Crowder, so it was a real butterfly flapping his wings moment for the conservative media world, which is that Crowder turning down 50 million from the Daily Wire and making it public, and then recording a conversation with Jeremy Boring about the offer in order to buttress his case, made him a great many enemies in that world, one of whom was Candace Owens.
Mhm.
And Candace Owens, at one point in one of her many response videos to all of this, sort of alluded to difficulties that Crowder was having. It was very unclear what it was. You know, it was a subtweet, but
Right.
in very well funded live from Nashville Daily Wire form. And Crowder then earlier this week felt compelled to respond to that by one, I don't know why he had to felt the need to say that he was getting divorced. And I don't know why he had to sort of say that, insinuate very clearly that he felt that Candace Owens was blackmailing him. It's
Mhm.
quite mad, and but it seems at least fairly evident that the result of this video, in which he openly complained about no fault divorce, which we'll get into in a second, but that led to someone in his wife's camp, very possibly his wife herself, leaking these Ring camera videos to Yashar Ali, showing him behaving like like a giant idiot baby,
Mhm.
Yeah.
just a baby that is uh, concerned, that cannot see beyond their own fingertips, that probably still has some problems with object permanence, and spends its whole day filling that diaper. I mean, yes, I'm sure if someone took a video of myself and any one of the people I've been with in my life having a fight, or you guys and your wives,
Yeah.
your wife, your wife
My
having a
wife.
fight.
It's
Your
shitty
wife.
and it's petty and
It would look awful, and you say things that you would make you cringe and want to crawl into a hole and die if anyone saw you doing that. But oh boy, did one party come out looking a lot worse in that exchange, and that was Steven Crowder.
Well, and he looks like what everybody says he is, or these right-wing performers. They're just shitty bros who hate women and want to subjugate them. And I don't like.
The one thing someone said to me years ago is that in the this woman said that that 50, 60 years ago, the role of a wife was to be a stage manager for a man's life. Like, if you think about it like a play,
Right.
Her job was to be the stage manager. Her job was to take care of all the problems, solve them without people knowing, make sure that the star, being the husband, shined the brightest, and that they themselves, while doing far more actual physical labor and work than the actual husband, remained entirely invisible, never got praised by, say, an audience, even though they're the one keeping this whole rickety contraption rolling along.
Mm-hmm.
And what this person said to me is, that's a very attractive thing. Who wouldn't want it? I mean, if not for the rampant sexism and the incredible punishing nature of it, sure, I'm sure we would all like someone whose job it is to make us look better and take care of all of these things. But that's what these guys all still want. They want a mommy. They want a mommy to take care of them. And anytime the mommy fails to do that, they're going to start like.
No, he said, I don't
like
feel
a stuck pig.
I don't feel loved by you. You're not showing your love or performing.
You're not performing your wifely duties. And that's how it seems clear in that fight, in that moment to him, that his definition of performing wifely duties equals making him happy. There's no notion that this is a partnership of any kind, because she's 8 months visibly pregnant, and he's saying basically, Binch, go to the store and get me my steak.
Well, he makes the money.
Feed our dogs.
He makes the millions of dollars of money. So what
as he
choice
says
does
in
she
that
have?
video, she can't like go off and say, I'll be back at some point. His schedule is locked down minute by minute, which evidently that minute included sitting on his butt in a pair of shorts and smoking a cigar. I think it was he smoking? I couldn't tell. But that time is locked down for cigar smoking and sitting and relaxing, and the schedule is the schedule and can't be.
And he's his own boss, and he can change it pretty much at will, because everyone he works with works under him. But
there's another story that came out a while back about Crowder, that he in fact had in his studio, if other members of the Happy Time racist laugh factory were getting, in fact, too many good zingers in, he would press a button and a yellow light would go on, and that meant that everyone else had to stop being funny so that he could get the laughs. Reportedly.
Reportedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Allegedly. So Griff, do you want to? A lot of this
yellow light
with...
just went on in my monitor. What's going on with that? Anyway,
that's the Bob Stop Being So Handsome light. That's what that light is for.
I don't know, Griff. Do you want to educate people a little bit on no fault divorces, because that came up in that first video?
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. We have seen a rise in the last year or so of conservative commentators, everybody from Crowder to Tim Pool, to talking about the idea that we should get rid of the concept of no fault divorce. And you can look at this as a final break from the Republican Party of Ronald Reagan, who signed the first no fault divorce law in 1969 in California. But the idea that a woman should be able to leave a bad marriage or a bad situation at any time without having to necessarily convince a judge, this is just something they're not into at all.
I'm sorry, you forgot to include the disclaimer of well-known wokester Ronald Reagan there.
Yes. Ronald Reagan, the absolutely woke governor of California, who went on to be the woke president of the United States. It's
who thought
he was barely awake throughout most of his presidency. The opposite of woke.
Honestly, though, Ronald Reagan, who signed that no fault divorce, you can just either party decides we need to get divorced, we get divorced. And you ask most people, well, okay, who was Ronald Reagan married to? Well, Nancy, of course. But he was married to somebody before that, and they were only married for a couple years. But then he went on to, become governor and president and did all these things. And his famous marriage was his second marriage. If ever there's evidence that,
his
we should
marriage.
Yeah, maybe divorce is good.
He got married to the throat goat, you guys. I mean, come on.
Happy.
Sorry, we're recording this at 8:00, and it gets a little blue for the late show, folks.
Robert works blue.
Yeah. But just to be clear, just to get some statistics on it, since Reagan did that, the divorce rate in America has declined in the last 40 years. And one of the reasons it has declined is because people don't feel like they're getting married later, and they're doing so when they're doing so that the fact that they know that they can exit just if the partnership for whatever reason isn't working for any number of reasons has actually led to people making smarter choices about marriage and having fewer divorces. I think there's also when there's no fault, it has led to less instances of domestic violence because partners know that they can leave.
And less suicides by women who feel like they have no choice. And we listen to the clips of Temple and all the terrible people talking about this, and they say, oh, well, marriage is now just meaningless. It's just a piece of paper. It doesn't, you could just sign it, and then you want half the guy's money, and then you take it, and then you're gone. And the average
Mr. Crowder has intimated this as well. He has talked repeatedly about, he apparently feels that I'm not going to opine on what Hillary Crowder is or what her motivation was for marrying Stephen or whatever. Calling her a gold digger is in fact the oldest trick in the book. For what reasons they chose to get married and have children, it's not my place to say, but if she feels that he's being abusive, she absolutely has the right to. That's the thing. There is an entire subculture that is growing around that has been for the last, again, 60 years been terrified of women's autonomy. Men, let's just say it's men who are terrified of women's autonomy. And post Roe v. Wade, they are looking for all kinds of places to claw back on civil rights. And this is absolutely one of them. Mm-hmm. And look, I have many friends who have stayed married in unhappy marriages, mainly for the children. And it's not necessarily unhappy marriage. It's not like nothing is as bad as what I saw, at least on on these recordings. No. But it happens. You do it. You stay in it for the kids. But knowing that you can leave if it's making either party miserable is a good thing. People sacrifice in marriages all the times, and adding an extra added layer where you are bound to this person for life legally unless you can prove through the courts that you are being punished for it is archaic and immiserating for everybody involved. And that's the world they want.
Right. And
that is absolutely the world they want.
It is, but it is also fundamentally different to stay in an unhappy marriage for the kids, which I am not in that situation, but I would at least ponder whether or not I would do that. I could see a situation where rational, sane people would do that, but that is very different than staying in an abusive marriage where you feel like you have no choice. But right. they want to remove all of that choice, and they act like marriage is something that, I mean, it's just so misogynistic, and it's so these arguments, they assume that women just get married to men so they can have half their money, and they just they get married, and 6 months later they get divorced, and they take it, and it's just you sign a piece of paper and you're done. But also, you get divorced, it takes 18 months on average in this country to get divorced, and anecdotally, the stories that you hear about people who get divorced, it is miserable. It is a horrible, terrible experience.
That is the one thing that Crowder got right.
Yes.
Him describing it as having, the sort of Damocles over his head. It's like, okay, yeah, all right, Jesus, get off the cross here. We need the word.
Well, and that's the other thing is like when you watch the clips talking, they're saying things like, well, it'll encourage women to make better choices. And you find yourself thinking like, bullshit. When have you guys ever trusted women with choices?
That's the point. We have a large body of data that exists in which you can say, actually, no, the opposite is true. No fault divorce has led to people, men, women, men marrying men, women marrying women, to people making better choices.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, has been improved in all kinds of ways. But I guess, can I say it? Can I say Ben's line? Can I steal it? Can I say it? Stephen, facts don't care about your feelings, man.
So true.
The other thing I want to bring up about Crowder is like, he was, like I said, there are a lot of these social media performers now making gobs of cash. A lot of them wanted to be celebrities and Hollywood celebrities, to be specific. Like, he's not the only one. The aforementioned Mr. Ben Shapiro has a failed screenwriter. That's what he wanted to do. Steven Crowder had a bunch of child parts, was a child actor, did stand up for a while. If you can find clips of Steven stand up, it's a rough. It's not good. It's slightly better than Dave Rubin's stand up, but that's really not saying much. And again, Dave Rubin also wanted to be a stand up comic. It's a lot of these guys cultivated fame, and they really it's this question of like, are they that everyone gets to when you start talking about these people is like, are they performing, or is this a truly honestly held belief? And in the end, I feel like it doesn't matter. It is sort of interesting in its own way, but to me, the revelatory thing about this video is that when it comes to misogyny, they're not just the president. They're also a former client of the Hate Club for Men. They really do believe this stuff. I also would like to encourage everyone to watch, and I sent this to Jay earlier in the day, and let's make sure and link it out. From 2009 to 2012, Crowder was doing regular Fox News stuff. He was on Red Eye a lot. The early the 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. I think Fox show where they kind of let their hair down a little. Andy Levy, beloved, like Twitter pro figure and pundit, was one of the hosts of that at a while also. But he put out a rap song called Mr. America, which by a two-person band that he formed with Dana Lash, the Missouri-based gun nut, also, talk radio personalities, husband, Chris Lash. They dressed up in powdered wigs and 18th century garb and did a rap song, which I got to admit this, guys, I just love it. I unironically enjoy this song. Can I say that it slaps without turning into the "how do you do, fellow kids" meme? I don't know if I can, but it's a banger. I unironically love it, even though I'm aware that it is terrible. And they released a music video, which is very, very of them sort of going around punching things and being in the club with a fisheye lens and slow motion cam. It's a very sort of mid 2000s rap video that they released in 2012. And they also performed it at CPAC in 2012 in front of a couple of dozen of very confused and bored senior citizens in a conference room who are sort of holding up their
I could see how
phones.
Some Tea Party members
that was the hashtag TCOT era of Twitter, and he was also doing stuff for like Big Hollywood and Breitbart. This was the thing that they pushed. They are so confused by this. And the controversy is that the big joke in this rap song is that at one point he says, I'm wearing my knickers.
Yeah.
Knickers.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say it one more time really clearly. Knickers, as like the New York Knickerbockers. He's wearing his knickers. And of course, he pronounces it in a way that you might confuse it with the N-word.
And a black man appears on the screen.
Black man appears on the screen. At CPAC, an actual black man got up and got mad. They had a stunt in there to get mad about it, which the CPAC audience was incredibly disturbed by. It thought that he was really upset.
So, but in the video, was it Herman Cain? Was it Herman Cain?
Yeah, it very well. R.I.P. though, but
R.I.P.
It was Clarence Thomas actually.
And if you're listening to this in the future, yes, that is the same Clarence Thomas who just now through the Supreme Court removed no-fault marriages and decided that was unconstitutional based on some obscure law. So yes, hello,
something Harlan Crow told him at their retreat at the Eagle's Nest one year.
Well, if the Nazis did it, I mean, it's good enough for them.
So he performs this song, and anyway, it caused a bit of. But Stephen, if you're watching right now, and you may have some time alone, and you're watching this pod, I really do love the song. I'm not lying about that.
I found it catchy. I didn't want to. I really found it. I was like, I mean,
it's humiliating and degrading and stupid, but it is catchy.
Yeah.
That happened right about the time also that Crowder got punched in the face by
the union. The union workers.
This was when the TCOT. Yes, he was doing one of those. He was trying to record one of those gotcha interviews with union protesters in I think he was in New Jersey that he was recording. So it may have been somewhere in New York. He's doing this, and he's sort of like he's trying to do those the kind of stunt questions that Jesse Waters was doing at the time, where he would ambush some person, get them to say something that made them look stupid or whatever, and then it gets shared everywhere. And there's still a robust industry of people doing that. But he pissed off the wrong union guy on the strike line, and the guy just clocks him. Just like a middle-aged Teamster just decked Crowder, and he ran. He actually released an edited version, which made it look like the guy cold cocked him out of nowhere, that he got that he gave him a sucker punch. But that's not what happened. Like Crowder was getting right in his face and being a jerk, and I believe pushed him first, which led the Teamster to sock him.
Okay, so I think we have thoroughly enjoyed poking fun at the horrible human who entirely deserves it, Steven Crowder. But I think, if we zoom out a little bit, we have to look at the plan going forward, because I think we all agree that the idea that Roe v. Wade could be taken away was kind of mocked and laughed at, and a lot of the center, a lot of the old mainstream or legacy media said, "Oh, that's settled. That's the law of the land. Don't even worry about it." And now it's gone. And so we have to kind of recalibrate and think, okay, what is the future going to look like? Because to me, like you've talked about, Robert, we're looking at gay marriage, we're looking at no-fault divorces, we're looking at all of these previously fringe ideas that the right is going to try to mainstream.
Interracial marriages also. Interracial marriages are very much. I believe, I forget which judge's opinion mentioned this. It may have been Thomas. It may have been.
I thought it was Alito.
Another one of those. Yeah, Alito might have been one of those seething gremlins. I forget which. One of them casually offhand in opinion sort of brought up like, well, maybe this is, perhaps sodomy laws need to be given another close look at. Perhaps interracial marriage, Loving v. Virginia needs to, let's have a thorough, what would an originalist view of that be?
Well, and I think they're just going to try it all. Like they try with narratives, with kind of little disinfo campaigns that they put out there, and let's feel it out. Let's see where it goes. Let's see if anybody picks this up. Let's see if it gets traction. And with all of that stuff, I think they'll try it. I think they've they know that the Supreme Court is deeply flawed and corrupted, and we just there's no way around it. And dirty money has taken its toll on our democracy, and I think the way this goes, at least as I see it, is you look at Texas, you look at state legislatures, you find people who want to make a name for themselves. And if you get guys like Steven Crowder and Candace Owens and Tim Pool and Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh and whoever the right wing person is, that, you know, that's my guy. He's going to go pass this bill that's going to go get rid of no fault in Texas or Montana or wherever, and they're going to boost that guy, and he's going to run with it.
Like Matt Walsh, say what you will about him, and I have a lot of things to say, but say what you will. He played a significant role in a lot of the anti-LGBTQ bills that got pushed in Tennessee. Like, without him, does it still happen? Probably, but he can. That's a feather in his befouled cap. That's for sure. He legit. I mean, the year that they spent fear mongering and continue to spend fear mongering, like the last month, where they have all been absolutely losing their minds over Dylan Mulvaney.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I have watched it and I've looked at it and I've gone, why do you care? Why? This is one freaking TikToker. The Bud Light thing was one sponsored Instagram post that nobody saw until they all started setting their hair on fire about it. And the things she's doing I find them kind of silly. A lot of other people like them. It's so inoffensive, and they hate her. They legitimately hate her with the fire of 1,000 suns, because it is profitable for, like, the hate machine has proven, like, that people will watch those videos, people will will look at those posts, people will do all this, people will subscribe to get more of it. It works. There's an entire like market set up that is built to enable this type of stuff. So if they decide that, I don't know, sodomy laws and interracial marriage need to be reversed, and they can get like audiences to pay, they can get the like all of the Tucker Carlson fans who are looking for a home to care about it, it'll be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a post that Alex Perrine wrote in Splinter, RIP though, back in 2016, right after Charlottesville, and it's talking about how it's mainly about Trump. But the one line that I keep coming back to from this post is, this was before Charlottesville, actually. There's another post-Charlottesville post, but this one was before. And what Perrine wrote is, like, for years, the Republican Party establishment were people who read the New York Times and, you know, the National Review, but they all went to Harvard and they all went to Yale. They still believed that you know, they still praised St. William Buckley. And they had an audience of people who were imbibing all this toxic sludge, and they had to sort of, you know, give lip service to all these people. But they themselves were smart enough to realize that it was horsepucky.
Mm-hmm.
The current that was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
The current generation of actual politics are people who have spent the last 20 years not only spewing that noxious garbage, but imbibing it themselves, and who are scared by everything that comes out of their TV and of the internet. And those people are that you cannot sate their desires and their fears for what they want. There is always more. There is always something else on the horizon, and they will keep drinking that garbage no matter what. So yeah, if no fault divorce is the next thing, like, Christopher Rufo will write deranged position papers about it, and we will hear about it for a year. Like, Donald Trump is going to, and DeSantis are going to spend the next 6 months talking about trans kids,
Mm-hmm.
as if that's the most important thing in the world today.
Mm-hmm.
My hope is that that they're too sealed off in their own little online bubbles to realize how deranged it sounds to people who aren't online 24/7, and that it really does turn people off. I think it does.
And I think the midterm
they're all
2022 bear
yeah.
that one out, because people
But
heard it, and outside of those states, Democrats had significantly better results in the midterms than anyone expected them.
But regardless of the results of various elections, in the interim, a lot of people are going to get hurt real freaking bad. A lot of people are going to die.
Yeah.
Look, there was a profile that I was working on, and I'll keep their name private, of a conservative influencer that I was working on in 2015. The article never did get published, which in retrospect I'm thankful for. But this was a person who was supporting Trump in 2015. And in talking to them and in interviewing this person, we spoke for probably about 5 hours. Came away from it being like, this is an intelligent person. This is a person who if I didn't know their politics, I would, be able to talk with them. I don't know if I'd be friends with them, but I would be able to talk with them. And they were supporting Trump. And I kept coming back to, like, you don't really believe this, do you? You're not really, like, this, you have to do, this is your job, right? Your job is to support this person. You don't really think that they should be president. And at the time, it didn't seem like, he would be. It seemed, ha ha ha, what a funny joke. Ha ha ha, what a funny joke.
Yeah.
But I said, I don't really, and he said, this person, it was a he said, no, I do. And he sort of began listing off a bunch of reasons why, and and I said, and I kept going back to this person saying, people will die. I said, like, if we're lucky, 1 million people will die. And not to play Cassandra or pat myself on the back for being right, but I think I could say I was right about hundreds of thousands of people dying that didn't need to die as a result of this. It wasn't in the way I anticipated, but hey, that's what happens when you spin the roulette wheel of fascism. Sometimes you get an unexpected result. But they are going to, we can all laugh at Crowder, and we should laugh at Crowder. Please laugh at Crowder, because he's laughable.
Yes.
And he wears a gun holster when he's recording his show, which is the funniest thing about him. And evidently also enjoys having subordinates like Owen Benjamin dress up as women for sketches, even when they don't want to. Want to. But, laugh at Steven Crowder would be my final word on this. But this is one of the reasons why I think it's unfortunately important to pay attention to these what seems like weird niche, like e-drama. It's that this very well could be the next thing that they decide to do.
Yeah.
And knowing about it, I don't know if it means anyone can stop it, but it's good to know that it's coming, because at least
you have to be aware of it. A lot of the attacks on trans people were niche e-drama 2-3 years ago, and now it's become a thing. It's become this vicious assault,
and now it has landed in the white hot center of conservative politics, he said, making air quotes.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you very much. This was a lot of fun. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for Did Nothing Wrong Live, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.